Hi, in this video I'll go through question 1F on Math 2019, and here we want to know for x in the range 0 to 360, how many solutions does this equation have? Okay, so I'm not good enough at drawing graphs to know what this left-hand side looks like, but I do know how to draw cos squared x, and I could probably try and figure out what sine cubed x looks like. So is there an easy way to use those pieces of information to figure out how many solutions there are? Well, instead of finding when this sum is equal to 0, I could instead split these two terms up and find when they are equal to each other. And I think this is generally quite a good tactic if you're trying to find solutions for quite a complicated looking equation, to split it up into two simpler equations and finding when those are equal instead. So now we've rearranged our equation to look like this, we can just draw the graphs for the two sides and find when they intersect. Okay, so let's draw these graphs. So let's begin with cos squared x, because I think that's a bit easier and you might have seen it before. So here are my axes, and we know that a cos x graph looks like this, right? And when we square it, so the point's at 1, when we square 1 that stays at 1, and the zeros stay 0, but all of these negative bits will become positive when we square. So cos squared x would look something like this orange curve. And we should probably put in some x values so we know where our range is. So we know that cos x is 0 at 90 degrees, and it's minus 1 at 180 degrees, and 0 again at 270 degrees, and then it's back to 1 at 360 degrees. So actually we're just interested in this orange curve up to this point. And also we have a minus cos squared x, so actually the curve will need to be reflected in the x-axis. So the minus cos squared x looks like this, and it sits below the axis. Okay, so now for the sine cubed x. So we know a regular sine curve is like this, and when we cube, we know that the zeros will stay 0, 1 cubed will stay 1, and minus 1 cubed is also minus 1. So those points stay as they are, and we just need to figure out what happens in between. So what happens when you cube a number between minus 1 and 1? Well, cubing will just make the magnitude smaller, right? So if you think about what the graphs of x and x cubed look like between minus 1 and 1, x cubed kind of just shrinks it closer to 0. So when we cube the sine x, because sine of anything is between minus 1 and 1, we kind of just shrink these values closer to 0. So sine cubed x will look a bit like this green curve. Okay, so the two curves we want are the green one and the orange one, and we want to know how many intersections they have between 0 and 360, and we can just count. We can see that there is 1, 2 intersections, and therefore our equation will have two solutions, and so the answer is C.